In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can get a well-balanced in-ear monitor sound. This is a step-by-step guide process, and I'll actually show you the individual mixing channels that I use. At the very end of the video, I'm going to be showing you the result of what it sounds like so you can hear it for yourself. Thanks so much. Looking at my in-ear mix, we're going to go through the talkback channel first. So right now what you're hearing is the drum talkback mic. If I click group, you're going to see that I've got the MD mic, which my MD is just to my left, which is really nice. I pan him slightly also to the left, just so I can hear him a little bit more. I would definitely recommend to not have him center. That way, if you need to hear your musical director or if you're missing a part, it's easy for you to hear his kind of commands if he's commanding the band. So recommend that. Now let's go over to the click channel. And I have this grouped here as well. This has click and guide. Now, when I'm using the click, I have this really great tip for you. I would recommend that you would slightly move your click 5% to the left. If you have the ability to pan on your ME, which you should, if you press it and hold, you can pan this far to the left. For me, I just do it a little bit off center to the left, about 5%. And then what that does is it really allows me to hear the click very clearly if we're in a bigger moment. And I actually like it if it's getting buried in the mix because that means I know I am locked in with the click and that I can just really hear it clearly. So it's great to have that. Now let's move on to the drums, which is in just channel 1. And I have this grouped as well. And for me, this is just one direct feed that I'm getting from front of house, which is really nice because I have them panned left and right. I love having my rack tom a little bit to the left and my floor tom a little bit to the right. And then I have this on the individual channels turned way up. And we'll scroll down to the drum verb. I am getting a send from the front of house that's sending me a drum verb, which is really awesome. I don't have it tuned up too high. I don't want it to be super washy to where I lose all clarity in my mix, and that's about where I have that. Let's also talk about the master really quick. I have my master at about 70%. You know, this is definitely something that is going to be based on what kind of ears you have. The ears that I'm running are A64s. They're A4s by 64 Audio. Would definitely recommend those ears for drums and even for bass because it just sounds incredible. And then let's move on to bass. I've got bass, and this is really all subject to change depending on who I'm playing with. For someone that typically has a really good tone and their gain's a little hotter, I'll have this at about 50 to 60%. My approach with bass and drums is this. They need to be really close and similar in volume and sound because I like to lock in with the bass player. That's a really big point that I want to make. If you're a drummer, you need to make sure that you have your bass turned pretty hot in your mix. I would definitely recommend that. Now, guitar 1, this is our lead guitar player who's also our MD. I have him maybe just a little bit hotter than the bass because the highs need a little bit more gain on that personally. Guitar 2, one thing on guitar 1 is this is also in stereo, which is a really great thing because it allows me to have a lot more clarity when I'm hearing the lead guitar, which is awesome. And then guitar 2, same thing, it's grouped. These individual channels are tuned way up to the maximum volume. And then over here, you know, I recommend that you don't have it tuned up past the unity line, which that's this line right here is the unity on the individual channels. So don't ever go over that volume just because you'll start to squash your mix. And then guitar 3, that's our worship pastor who typically runs an electric as well. And I don't have that up too hot. And then we'll move on. Acoustic, I never have acoustics in my mix because typically, unless they're a really good acoustic player, it's hard for me to hear. We got acoustic 2, turn that down. Keys is also in stereo, left and right. I've got that at about 40%. And then again, this is all subject to change depending on who's playing. And then I have another keys channel. Today we had 2 different keys players, so I kind of mixed them in accordingly. This is also in stereo. And then tracks, these are also in stereo, and then I'll mix them about 40-50%. As you can tell, I have a lot of things in my mix, right? So it could be really easy for anyone to try and copy this, but I would just caution you, always make sure first you can hear yourself. So as you can tell, I have drums at unity, and this really helps me out a lot when I'm mixing my Sunday morning sets. And when I listen back, I want to make sure I can hear myself in the mix, but I don't want to be overpowering everything else. I want it to sound like a studio record. So I'd recommend that. And then we're down back to the click channel. This, again, is all subject to the taste that you have. I didn't mention this before, but the Q channel is also panned 5% to the right, which is great because it really allows me to hear that more clearly. Vocals, what's really nice is the way we have this set up from right to left on the stage. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 meaning that the furthest person to the left is 5. All of these I have panned, so I have a really nice range of vocals, and then I don't have them too hot. It just depends on who's leading. Speak is our pastor's mic, so I want to make sure I can hear him pretty clearly. Aux is usually front of house. This is also Spotify, so I don't want to have that too loud either. Crowds, I typically won't have them in my mix. But yeah, this is how I mix my ears. Biggest thing to remember, make sure you can hear yourself. Make sure you can hear the MD. Make sure you can hear click. And then most of all, make sure drummers that you have your bass in your mix.